We are being asked now, individually and collectively, to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And this is what is taking place energetically for the collective, individually and collectively, where you will be shown snippets of your reality experience, however that information comes through to you, for a greater understanding of what you have been through in the past. And you are going to see, when you allow it to, the puzzle pieces fitting together, because things don't happen for no reason. Whether it be a dark experience, a light experience, or everything in between. Everything is ingeniously designed, and there is a reason for an experience taking place. That interaction, whether it was pleasant or unpleasant, taking place. And all of it is designed to show us the underlying energies, the role plays that were taking place. And sometimes when we go through a traumatic experience and years later, we'll use the here and now as an example, and we'll look back and we don't understand why this thing happened, because it was really traumatic in nature. It was really unpleasant. But it was necessary. It was necessary. And from this now moment, when we allow the information to come through, we will see why that thing happened that way. And we are being asked for an understanding in terms of the interpretation of our experience right now. Because with understanding, we can set ourselves free from that experience. Understanding that there was a great act of service in this experience. Sometimes you would have heard the saying along the lines of, in chaos, there is divine order. There is divine alignment in the midst of chaos. Sometimes it can seem that we have, on an individual level throughout our experience, on certain occasions or through that dark night of the soul, lost control. And there was complete and utter chaos in our reality experience. Or what we were seeing, what we were experiencing, whether it be reflected, projected from another, or projected from ourselves, was a very dark experience, was chaotic, was very, very unpleasant. But there is an ingenious design to that experience. And when we understand it, there is wisdom in that. And we can set ourselves free. Because very often, especially as empaths, highly sensitive beings, we blame ourselves for past events when we have acted out of alignment. Not knowing, as I've discussed on many occasions, that we have in fact served that other individual, those other individuals, the collective, in a very powerful way, without knowing it. So from this awakening process, we amplify our awareness and we see things more clearly, with clarity. So what was not understood in the past as a traumatic event, that has resided as density within the physical form. And very often what happens is, when we tune into that past memory, into the energetic, we'll see that that was a repeated cycle playing out with an underlying energy, that density acting as a magnet to attracting similar circumstances. It may be represented, expressed in another way, but the energy was the same. Those repeated cycles, what we didn't prefer to experience. And we got ourselves caught in a loop. So what happens is, when we do this, the universe, in essence, will give us no choice but to move in another direction. And how this is done is through absolute chaos. When our world is flipped upside down, when it is too painful for the self to reside within that kind of experience anymore. When we feel like we're losing grip on reality. What people may call rock bottom. Rock bottom is divinely designed in order to take that individual into a very, very dark place where they have an incredible choice to choose something else, because that environment is far too painful. And very often, the individual will awaken in the dark and choose something they prefer because the suffering and the pain was too much. The unconscious is made conscious through the darkness, through that experience. And very often, this is very powerful. When we are thinking about relationships from the past or any kinds of experiences, through the chaos, through the disruption, through that painful experience, when you tune in, what is taking place, more often than not, 90% of the time, that energy, that painful experience, the underlying energy has been there from its inception, from the very beginning. And what took place is, through the chaos, was the exposure, the exposing of what has always been there, which is the huge gift. Because we were unconscious within that experience. We were unaware that that energy was present in our field. And we are these actors in this great play of life. So you'll get the heroes, you'll get the villains, the good guys, the bad guys, as they'll call it in films. But we understand that it is necessary to have the light and the dark within this experience. And it's extremely powerful. It's how it's designed. And it makes for a great show, a great experience, when we, from a higher perspective, choose to see it that way. And it's not just a case of taking an unpleasant experience from the past and choosing to see it from a lighter perspective, in essence, only just trying to give it a new definition or see it in a positive light. There is light in there. So when we see it from a higher perspective, that is a perspective that is very real. And that is actually the underlying miraculous design of that experience. It is the truth. From a higher perspective, that is seeing things from a higher state of being, from the higher self aspect, seeing the ingenious design, as everything is set up for us by our higher selves, for our growth and expansion. And the darkness is great teacher, a great servant in awakening each and every one of us. The darkness wakes us up. So, in this energy update, we are being asked to put the pieces, the puzzle pieces together, so that we have clarity and understanding of what has taken place in the past, so that we can set ourselves free from any misunderstandings, anything that has been looked at as wrong, that has seemed out of place, that we have felt wasn't meant to be there, that we have ignored. This also ties into the shadow aspect, like I speak about. But through these role plays, as these characters, these actors in our experience, we have, on some level, whether we are aware of it or not, also played the villain. Even though maybe a year ago, 10 years ago, whenever it is, we decided to be love, be the light, act in alignment. In the past, if you see, we would have on some level played the villain. And other individuals within this experience would have come out to play that role, reflect what you have projected onto someone else to balance the energy. They are serving you. They are serving us. The same applies where we have blamed ourselves over and over again. And when we tune into that experience, when we ask the questions, our guides will bring us the information. Like I always say, you will see that when you have labeled yourself as the bad apple, as a bad person, as a horrible person, how dare you do that? you will see that in your past, that underlying energy will surface, and you withdraw the information from that, and you will see that you were lied to. You believed a lie, took it on your own, and this is a program that you have been running. Because you will see that the other individuals were perhaps a lot better, more skilled at playing in the darkness. That is why when we awaken, when we ascend in consciousness, we will come up against darkness very often. Okay, but we have the choice to clarity whether to play in it or not. And how you win is not to play in it. You don't play that game anymore. Understanding the service of every interaction, the ingenious design, and the chaos was a gift. This is very often how, through clarity, we are able to, in essence, forgive ourselves and forgive others through these experiences in life. So that underlying energy, as we go through a number of purge stages in this experience, this is a journey, and also all designed perfectly. It's not a case of, in a month's time, we've cleared all density from our physical vessel, from our mental, physical, emotional bodies, from our experience altogether, we completely healed and it's done. There is a process, and we are given what we can handle. It's very often what happens, this is a prominent theme within the collective, is we'll feel that we have already done the inner work and shifted through a form of an experience in our life. And then those consciousnesses will still show up. You may have done the work, but there's some more to do. Or it's showing up because there is a beautiful message within those consciousnesses that will give you a greater understanding of the experience, because on an unconscious level, you may not have fully freed yourself from the experience in terms of understanding how beautiful it actually is when seeing it from the higher perspective, when we allow it. Whatever is showing up is serving you. And with more information, more clarity, we are able to truly begin to see things from the higher self aspect. So, the theme now is putting the puzzle pieces together. This can stem all the way from childhood, although I've been shown quite clearly that what is taking place is, right now, is a clearing and understanding. There is clarity in that very, very dark night of the soul, just before your trigger awakening, your initial awakening. So the years just before that, if you can think, tune into the period of your life where it was pitch black. So the darkest of the dark within your experience. Yes, there was an accumulation over time since childhood. There were traumatic events that built up, that resided as density. Then we attracted the people, places, and things that were on a similar vibration to that density. This is what will manifest as repeated cycles. So that energy working through different people to show you that that energy is there. Then it gets very loud. And at its loudest, that is when we go through that very, very dark night of the soul. That is the chaos, the complete destruction. And very often people will find themselves shifting through this awakening out of pretty much every single relationship, those interactions from the past, all those experiences all together. A complete shift into a new reality. And sometimes we're curious as to what would it be like if I did things in a different way? Well, in this experience, that doesn't work. Because remember that every interaction that took place and experience is designed, is source, working through individuals. And there's a reason for you shifting out of those places, those experiences, those relationships, because there was an energy there that was acting in service. So if you acted another way, in essence, you would be a different version of yourself. And more likely than not, you would not be being yourself if you were still in those experiences. That's the point. The universe will shove us into a direction through chaos because we are not acting in alignment with who we really are. When we are not acting in alignment with the truth of who we are, we allow for density to reside within our field. So we think to ourselves, if I did something another way, that relationship may have worked and it may have been better. No, it's not the case. Any unpleasant experiences or how it played out served. And it was supposed to play out that way, exactly that way. And it would not be different. You would be different. You would not be the man or woman you are today, listening to this video. And you would not be being yourself. The process of awakening and ascending in consciousness is bit by bit individuals streaming into a reality experience where they are free to be who they really are. And those experiences from the past were the ones that got you here, to that point, to be free. Because very often, I know in my experience, through my pitch black, dark night of the soul, I didn't have anything to lose. So I decided to be myself to the best of my ability. So it was a huge gift. I had nothing to lose. In my mind, in my understanding, my perspective, I had nothing to lose but to be myself. So everything that I felt that I lost, relationships, money, abundance, nothing was tying me in to that old experience. And the pain and suffering, like I'm sure this will resonate with many of you, is too great. So you decide to try this thing called loving the self, to be the light. And very quickly, I know for me, within a week, 2 weeks, I understood quite a lot for that 2-week period. And I was never going back to the old. And then the preceding years, as many of us, as we go along, sometimes it'll take 5 years for information to come through about an instance, an experience that took place 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it was meant to come through at that time. Sometimes we don't know things because we're not meant to know them yet, because that would have altered our course of action. We would have done something different and we would have perpetuated that cycle without knowing it. Our higher selves know us better than we know ourselves. They are us. That's why through this experience and allowance, we trust no matter what. And it gets proven to us every time. And so that trust strengthens and we move into knowingness with everything that we do. So within your experience, see what comes through. It will come through in a way designed for you, like I always speak about. It can be in dream states. It can be through when your third eye is open, as many individuals watching this, third eye are open, through visuals. Can come through just feeling, through heart-based conscious connection. Feeling into it. We may just think of certain people. Okay, when it's those repetitive thoughts. Why is this person coming into my awareness? Because you're being asked to acknowledge that consciousness. So whatever consciousnesses show up, tune into the energy of the consciousness of that moment, feel into it, and the information will filter in. Because what we're being asked for right now is to put the pieces of the puzzle together for clarity so that we can free ourselves. We can free ourselves from what has been a great act of service and allow for new experiences to come in that do not resemble that density whatsoever. When we decide to, when we do the inner work, we do not have to go through any of those experiences from the past ever again. Only the ego mind will convince us, what will also be called the pain body, will convince us, very much connected to the ego, that when something good happens, something negative is going to happen. That's the pain body. Or the ego will convince us that that's too good to be true. You reach a point, and you can do it very quickly in your life, where through understanding, through a process like this right now on the earth plane, the month of June, when you understand something, that thing will disappear. When things keep showing up, like these consciousnesses or experiences from the past that will be expressed to you, shown to you, there is a reason for it. When you've got it, when you understand it and you feel that expansion in that now moment, it's like an epiphany. And you'll think to yourself, I let this bother me for so many years, and I got it. And it's beautiful. It's incredible. Wow, I served that person. And that person served me. Then it dissipates. And through these processes, through this understanding, through this clarity, we do not have to go through anything like that ever again. Yes, there will be challenges. There are challenges in this experience, especially when interacting with the 3D paradigm. But it does not have to resemble anything from the past. That will be the ego mind convincing us. And through this process, we understand, and we actually can't believe when we have this conversation with our higher selves, with ourselves, why we weren't being ourselves from the very beginning, because of how miraculous it is. When you are yourself, to the best of your ability, yes, sometimes through this process, ego gets involved and we see it later, and that's fine. It's all part of it. But when we are ourselves to our best of our ability, anything in our reality experience that is not the representation, reflection of light and love, that is not meant to be there, will fall away. So everything's a gift. So if you wish to be in an experience with that incredible relationship, that incredible mind-blowing experience, anything that is reflective of heaven on earth, of 5D consciousness, all we have to do is be ourselves to the best of our ability. And everything just shifts. We can do it pretty quickly for ourselves, or the universe will do it for us. Either way, it is perfect. So we never miss it. We are never too late. There's always an opportunity to shift and make that great change at any time. And it's baby steps. There's no rush. Everything is designed perfectly. So, see the correlation between those repeated cycles in your life. Because what's happening now, there's going to be a push, and these consciousnesses are going to show up. May not necessarily be for a purge. It can be. Some individuals will be going through a purge this month. There's no doubt about it. But sometimes it's just for understanding. So you've done the work, you've gone through the physical purge of that energy. But now they would like you to put the puzzle pieces together for understanding and clarity, because with that we set ourselves free. And this is a part of the teachings that you bring forward in however you go about being in service to others. This is also psychic training. Everything is training, is practice with our psychic abilities. We are our own greatest teacher with our higher selves. And what you can also do, which is very powerful, what's coming through now, is if you're not understanding something, if there's a lack of clarity, ask the question. What you can also do is instruct your guides to deliver information to you that in a way that you will understand. So we can use different symbols where there'll be a different definition, a different meaning to those symbols. Okay? If you want to move in a certain direction, they can show you a symbol if you're very visual or anything like that. And that will mean yes. Or you can use another symbol which means no. So communicate with your guides. Ask them to bring through the information. They will work with you for your understanding. This will provide clarity on your experience, within your experience. And those storms within our experience that we've been through, that chaos, the destruction, when our life's been flipped upside down, it was just making a new way, a new path into that of 5D consciousness, removing everything that's not supposed to be there in that now moment. But it was supposed to be there a week ago, a month ago, years ago, all set up by ourselves, for us. So this month very connected to understanding, clarity of the past, understanding of that dark, dark night of the soul, putting those puzzle pieces together, seeing the underlying energy that has been fueling that repeated cycle within your experience, not only for just the purge, which can happen, but to see it for what it is and see the teacher in it, see the master in it. And with gratitude, light and love, we withdraw the wisdom. We understand. Through that, we can forgive ourselves, forgive others, knowing that the truth perspective of it is absolutely beautiful.